Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, attraction coach and founder of The Goddess Next Door. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. Kris Oster is the branding strategist and the author of Return to Enchantment, your guide to creating a magical livelihood. She helps supernaturally creative and imaginative entrepreneurs succeed without hiding their true identity. She consults and coaches with heart-centered business owners, helping them to create brands that reflect their uniqueness and sell their products without feeling sleazy. She works closely with the mermaid archetype to bring the power of pleasure back into the boardroom as well as the bedroom. Today, Kris and I talk about how pleasure will improve your branding and marketing, and the connection between vulnerability, visibility, and pleasuring your way to success. But before I talk with Kris, do you desire a deeper understanding of your spirituality? How about the metaphysical world? And what about the laws of the universe? In the Spark Spiritual Academy, we explore metaphysical and lifestyle topics where we give you the keys in easy-to-use, bite-sized pieces to create the life you want. Spark Spiritual Academy offers a monthly collection of inspiring, thought-provoking information in one convenient place. Each month, you'll get a new collection of bonus material from the Awakened Goddess Show experts. You'll also get journal exercises, meditations, and resources to put into practice and create quantum leaps forward in your life. Join us today and ignite your brilliance within. See you there. Welcome, Kris, to the Awakened Goddess Show. I am super excited to talk with you today because we are going to have so much fun.
Yes, we are.
we're talking about pleasuring yourself to success. And oh my God, female entrepreneurs everywhere, I'm sure, are like, oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it sounds better than slogging your way to success.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, but how many really of us do that? We just like, it's like that grind that we kind of get in that mindset of that's what we're supposed to do, and we make things hard. So I think this is going to be like an amazing conversation that the listeners are going to take so much from. So let's start with, why is pleasure important to success in your business?
Pleasure is, there's so many associations with pleasure, and you know that I love mythology, and there are specific archetypes that are associated with pleasure, and, even beyond that, there's some that, are stereotypically, like, people think of themselves as, sometimes Aphrodite woman, I love pleasure and all these things and delegation. And then some women think of themselves, well, I am Athena. I'm the one who strategizes. I'm a do it kind of a gal, action oriented. Whereas the Aphrodite is a little bit more into the being rather than the doing. Mm-hmm. So on that scale, there's definitely places for Athena women to find pleasure. And I'm an Athena woman, so I'm not claiming to be an Aphrodite woman. I'm working towards it.
I was going to say, I think I'm a Aphrodite woman stuck in a Athena.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Or
yeah.
Maybe I'm reversing that.
If you look at the mythology, and I feel like we learn so much from mythology. If we look at the mythology, Aphrodite and Athena in the patriarchal myths of classical Greece are enemies. And basically the myths say that Athena's jealous of Aphrodite because she's beautiful and just gets whatever she wants and doesn't have to do anything. And then on the Aphrodite side, they're like, well, those Athenas, all they ever do is just suck it up to the man and just do whatever he tells them to do. Mm. So what we have with Aphrodite and with pleasure is also an association a little bit with with chaos, with non-rational thinking, with the origins of things. And that's kind of a scary place to be, but it's also the place where we're most innovative, we're most creative. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we can be productive, like checking stuff off of our to-do list, which is an important aspect of business. Obviously, we don't ever throw Athena out the window because we need her. We need to have a plan and a strategy. But we also need to put a place for Aphrodite and for pleasure. So as far as succeeding in your business, if you really want to brand yourself and come up with things that are more outside of the box, that are more creative, and I think more generative. I wouldn't say productive. I use productivity a lot, and now I'm thinking, gosh, in my book I say it leads to more productivity. And I would say it's more generative in the sense that the ideas will just whoosh, you'll kind of have an explosion when you really dive into those pleasure zones and into the realm of Aphrodite.
Oh my gosh. Already, we've just gone like right deep into all of this.
So let's dive in, right?
Yes. Let's dive in. Okay, so it sounds like there are some specific archetypes of pleasure. So let's talk more about this.
Sure. Okay, so on the pleasure scale, I would say, and there's also obviously across cultures, there are other, archetypes and deities like Shakti. Mm-hmm. Lakshmi would definitely be one. So if we're talking about the Hindu pantheon, Sarasvati.
And so Lakshmi, for those that aren't familiar with the goddesses, mm-hmm. Lakshmi is associated with prosperity and abundance.
Exactly. People would say she's the Venus of the Hindu world. So she's prosperity and beauty, and also the balance and beauty in the home and your everyday surroundings. Lalita in the Hindu pantheon is the goddess of like joy and delight and laughter and pleasure. And that's also very Aphroditic also. In West Africa, we have Oshun. Oshun is a West African goddess of fresh waters and fertility, beauty. She's the patron of the artists. So again, when you have this, and similar to Aphrodite, we could say that Oshun has been somewhat over-sexualized in the sense of, and I have nothing against sexuality, but over-sexualized or over-objectified as the beauty and the coquettish kind of feminine, mm-hmm. and which I think sometimes takes away from the power that these goddesses wield, because Aphrodite, she actually is born from the castrated genitals of Uranus. And Uranus is, basically he's castrated by his son Kronos, and Kronos is the father of Zeus. So Aphrodite actually comes from the Titan realm. And then all of a sudden she's kind of sucked up into the Zeus Olympian pantheon and then kind of demoted to beauty goddess. Mm-hmm. But she's so powerful. And I think that's why, Zeus is in that patriarchal myth. They're real quick to marry her off, get her, nice and trying to get her settled. But of course she has, lovers, and she's, she's not going to be controlled.
Right.
With Oshun, we have a very similar sort of mythology. And Oshun, is the only feminine god or deity out of the 16 that the high god sends to create the earth. So she knows how to make things stick together, because of course that's what love and pleasure is. Mm-hmm. And it's also moisture. She's a goddess of water. So a lot of these pleasure gods and goddesses are water.
Yeah. So it sounds like, because I understand water is associated with our feelings and emotions.
Mm-hmm. So exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the primal source. When we're all before we're born, we're floating in amniotic fluid. We're in an ocean. We're like these little fishes, right? So, anyways, so the male gods are like, we're not going to listen to her. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's just a girl, whatever. So the other 15 gods are, they're trying to like make things to create the earth, but everything's falling into dust. And, Ocean's just like, yeah, whatever. Don't ask me what to do, of course. And so the high god is looking on this, of course, and laughing, going, yep, I guess they do kind of need you. And she's like, well, they're not asking for my help and they're turning me away. So up theirs, I'm not going to do anything. So all these gods go to the high god and say, we can't get anything to work and blah, blah. And the god says to them, well, have you asked the woman yet? And they're like, well, why would we ask her? So it's just such an interesting myth about patriarchal male, female. And so they finally, they realize they need her help. So they go and they basically prostrate in front of her and they're begging her, please help us, please help us. She's like, okay. And she snaps her fingers, water's flowing, the trees grow, everything sticks together. And the earth has been created as we know it. So, these goddesses, and therefore pleasure, in my own mind at least, it makes everything stick. It's the way to create. And it's like the little piece that we go to last, but it's such an important piece. And there's so much power.
Yeah. Well, isn't that funny, though, how that parallels that story that you're just talking about? How the men, there are all these men trying to figure this out, and then the last thing they do is ask the woman. Yeah, and I love how, that's just so fascinating, these, the mythology and how this is, like, played out. And so how you integrate this into business branding is, like, amazing. So let's take it to how we can use this in branding and marketing for our businesses.
Well, this is how I've used it and worked with clients and had them, because I work with groups and classes, and I have my book, Return to Enchantment, which has a chapter on exactly how to do this. What I've found when I work with, groups or even one-on-one, I'll take a one-on-one as an example. So for some women, most of my clients are women. I would call them definitely luminaries, change makers, who they usually already have some sort of a web presence, but they're holding themselves back. And I know you've probably seen this a lot, and I've gone through it, and I'm sure you've gone through it. It's this fear of being visible, this fear of exposing yourself, because that's what it is. When you're being your authentic self, you know that you are being you can be targeted for whatever, being put down, or just being seen can be a scary, vulnerable place. But what we also see is that there's the contradiction that there's a fear of not being seen. And obviously, if we're not seen, too, people can't find us and they can't hire us, and we can't really have a business without that, especially as entrepreneurs with a lot of beautiful things being offered. Let's just put it that way. So one of the first things that always comes up is, is when I help them work on their about page, let's say, oh my gosh, well, do I, what do I say? What do people care about? So there's this opening that needs to happen. So what I generally do is I'll interview them for like a couple of hours and really get to the nitty gritty, and I will write their about page for them. And they're usually like, oh, I cried. It was just so me. And then, some of them, it takes them, or it would take them like months before they could actually put it out there. Wow. Or a month or longer. So I started noticing this as a pattern. I was like, wow, I just want these women to, come on, you've got this stuff. Get it out there. Do it. And that there was maybe in between, there was a step that needed to happen. So the other clue that I got was that they would start telling me just out of nowhere about their sexuality or their sexual inhibitions with their husbands, their lovers, whatever. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. How do we go from your about page to, you're feeling really inhibited in bed? Mm-hmm. It was really an interesting place. So I started taking them through an exercise where I basically said, for the next, 2 weeks in your calendar, I just want you to, we're going to make a schedule for pleasuring yourself. And then you are going to, put it in your calendar. And anytime, even before you sit down to write a blog post, you have to do something to pleasure yourself first. And it could be 2 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 30 minutes longer, whatever you want to do. And at first people pick, read a book, binge watch Netflix. I mean, there's lots of pleasurable things you can do. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not quite what I had in mind. That's good for maybe after the work, but I'm saying before the work, try to do something that gets you in your body, that gets you to that feeling of wholeness and unity. I mean, for me, the big O will do it every time. Mm-hmm. But that's, we don't always have time for that. And then if we work in a corporation or we have a 9-to-5 job, we're not going to go around and masturbate in the bathroom or in the car. I guess we could, but it's so getting into your body, healing that Cartesian split, the mind from the body, just getting everything reconnected. Mm-hmm. You could do it by deep breathing. I mean, that's a huge one. Going outside, taking a 5-minute walk and deep breathing, or just, I would say going outside or going outdoors was the main one. Mm-hmm. When people were able to do it, that really, boom, instantly ideas flowed and confidence was there and they felt more centered. Mm-hmm. So that was part of the process of getting their, helping them take their branding to the next level. And now in classes where I didn't write for people, I found that again, that they said they felt more sexy and confident after that. They felt more free to write what they wanted. Mm-hmm. And just put it out there and experiment. There's like a little bit more of a boldness, not so much of I'm a little worried about what people will think if I put this out there. It's just like, I'm putting it out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And, something I struggled with for a long time, and I think this speaks to this, is that when I find, my personality is one way. And then when I want to communicate something through writing, whether it's through my newsletter or on social media, it's like there's a complete disconnect. Like my personality is not showing up really in my writing. So I wonder if you can kind of talk about that.
That's a huge one. And I think because we fall into a groove where we're used to doing things a certain way, and even for me, there are moments where I realize I need to mix things up. Otherwise, I'm just going to write this blog post the same way I always write things. Mm-hmm. And again, I think if we tantalize our senses a little bit more and do stuff to, again, get us away from the desk and away from the computer, that really seems to okay, you break out of that mind groove where you're just, in a trance. And so why is the trance there? And like you said, the trance is there because there's something about the following the rules that, when we're posting on social media or on our blog, that we're supposed to talk about this and not necessarily about these other things. Mm-hmm. So putting in something about how you're feeling, putting something in about something you love doing, or, I mean, what I've seen some people do is, oh yeah, I was listening to my favorite, Lady Gaga song, Born This Way. And I just was like, da 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 da. So then, even though it's just like a blip in your newsletter, if there are people that are really into Lady Gaga, they're going to be like, holy crap, that's so cool. Yeah, me too. I'm totally down with that. And then the people that aren't totally down with that, they might unsubscribe or they may whatever, but that's actually in your favor. The more you put of yourself in there and show who you really are, the more people will be like, oh yeah, you're my person. Mm-hmm. Or, yeah, you're not so much my person. See you later. Which is good. I had a couple of people tell me, wow, this whole pleasure thing is really weird. Good luck with that. Yeah. And that's okay. It's not their thing.
Yeah. Well, isn't it that's a good sign, like you say? It's like when you start polarizing people, then you're on the right track in terms of your branding and your messaging. Like people responding either one way or the other.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Any kind of response is good. You want, and having a really big negative response for something can be a kind of an ouch. And that happened to me once. And it was like, well, you feel bad. I mean, there's no getting around it. We're all human. And we all want to be, I think it's that wanting to be accepted and liked by everyone. And when someone's like, I don't like you and you suck, you don't know anything, it's, it's a stab in the heart. Mm-hmm. But yes, we go on and we get stronger as far as just lovingly letting that stuff go.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I think it goes to accepting ourselves. And the more we're able to accept and love ourselves, then other people will reflect that back. And those people that don't resonate with us, we won't really be bothered at some point by those people. At least I think.
Yeah, and I think it also, it goes again into like that theme of sovereignty, where when you give yourself the permission to wear the crown, to be the queen or king of your realm, the sovereign of your realm, other people see that and it gives them permission as well. So it's a nice chain effect, because I really think that, our marketing is out there constantly. Our branding is out there constantly, but people don't, how many people out of the hundreds and thousands of people that see all of that, how many people actually will buy the book or schedule the one-on-one or join the class? It's a smaller percentage. So really, your marketing that's your soul on parade. It's what heals other people and what heals you, mm-hmm. because the mass majority will not make it to actually buy something from you.
Right.
So that free content and that whatever it is, that little thing that you put out there, actually, it's huge. It makes a huge impact. So I tell people their marketing content is sometimes more important than their actual content. I mean, we want the actual content to be as good or better, but if you have crappy, vanilla marketing, you're not going to inspire the masses, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that they're very passionate about what they're doing. They pour all of themselves into a product, but then when it comes time to actually marketing it and putting it out there, then that whole visibility thing comes up. The vulnerability, the visibility, and then maybe they just kind of hide. So let's talk more about the vulnerability and the visibility and how this all, how we can work with that, because it can be uncomfortable.
It's huge. I started a video series called the V Spot, the Vulnerability Spot. Of course, I had to give it a sexy name because I like that.
Yeah.
So what I've done with that is, I guess it's a part of my own process of how I deal with vulnerability. And part of that is being open about it and saying something. I think if you probably look at your own blog posts and your own social media, when you were in a vulnerable moment and you talked about it, those are probably the ones that are the most commented on. And it shows that you're human. It shows that just like anyone else, you need support. It just shows that you are, vulnerability is very attractive. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, there's some people in their vulnerable state that I don't resonate with because I feel like they're too like always like, oh my God, my life, it's too drama and too melodramatic for me. Yeah. So I'm like, those are not my people. So I don't follow those types, but you know, like for me, I do it once a month, but you know, I've noticed like I've gone for years without talking about my vulnerabilities before. It just isn't something that I would share with people because I was afraid they would think I was unsuccessful or weak.
Mm-hmm. Or you didn't have it all figured out. You weren't the expert.
Yeah, and again, it's the vulnerability plus visibility. You're exposing your naked self and saying, here I am in all my imperfect glory. But what I find is most of the time, that's not when I get, shot down. Mm-hmm. So I think if we all shared our vulnerability more in a way that felt delicious to you. I mean, that's the thing. Everything that you do should feel pleasurable, because if it doesn't, what's the right way to put this? Even if there's not a conscious thing in someone's mind of, wow, this person is not enjoying this, like they can't necessarily consciously tell, they can feel it.
Yes. Your energy
they can sense
through.
it.
Yeah.
And either what they're going to think is this person is a phony because they feel like you're hiding something or hiding behind something, or they're going to feel kind of lethargic afterwards, because if you have lethargic energy and then you create something and put it out there, you're putting out that energy. Even if it's not your intention, I think that happens a lot more than we realize. So I stopped writing blog posts. If I'm really tired, I don't write them anymore. I'm just like, you know what, screw the calendar. I know it says I'm supposed to do this today, but, so that's, again, the self-care. Mm-hmm. So, vulnerability is a really important part, I think, of marketing. But again, not to do it for marketing's sake. When you do it for the intention of healing and of creating a bridge for people to connect with you, I think it's really, really nice when you see people do that and do it well. And raw vulnerability can be very shocking and also super wonderful. I mean, I've had some people, you've seen some entrepreneurs, they'll come out with something and you're like, holy cow, do I really want to know that? And you're like, wow, that was super courageous.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have ever said that or done that. Mm-hmm.
But like you say, it opens the doorway for other people to also feel more comfortable in sharing their vulnerable parts of themselves.
Exactly. Like I know, like for me, a big vulnerable place is, being liked by everybody. And that's kind of a childhood wound. And if you look at your wounds and your shadows, you'll usually find the spots. Yeah. I call them your Achilles heel, So I think one of the spots for me is money. I sometimes get so frustrated because, I made more money when I first started as an entrepreneur. And since then, I've done a lot of analysis around this. And it seems like there is a pattern that when people come out of the gate, that a lot of times they sell more because it's like a beginner's luck. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I've seen. And I've compared it to like the story The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, the Santiago, and I talk about it in my book. But so I spent, before this year, there was a couple of years there where I just couldn't sell to save my life anymore. I was like, what am I doing wrong? And I was talking to people, everybody's like, well, I just don't have the money. I don't have this, I don't have that. And, so it's like, okay, they're not prioritizing what I'm offering. So then you kind of go through that whole thing of, analyzing, well, what sells, and you try all these different things. And
Yep. Oh, I can totally relate.
And so, and talking about that, that was a hard space for me, because I was like, well, will people come to me if they think, well, this person's not making money, so therefore she must not be, know the secrets to success or whatever BS, that's the thing. And what a lot of entrepreneurs won't say is that a lot of them have side gigs. I would love to say that I'm just an author, but I work, most of my money comes from working for other people. And no, I don't work in an office. I have a daughter. I decided not to, but it's a money roller coaster. It's a financial roller coaster. And I think entrepreneurs or people who want to come into this realm need to know that there are no guarantees, even for people that have been in business for years that have big lists.
Yeah.
It's like they're going to have bad months too. So I just what do you find about the whole money shadow part of it?
Oh, yeah, it's gosh, it is a cycle. And you start doubting yourself, because if people are not responding, then it's like you look at, gosh, is this priced wrong? Is it the wrong product? And then, that's what I find, is that I tend to internalize that and analyze and look at myself versus, what am I communicating? What you said earlier about the energy that you're putting out there. I mean, I think that, just in thinking about my own experience, about what I was saying earlier about the disconnect I have between my own my personality and what I feel is presented out there. Anytime I want to put something on Facebook, for example, it's like I have a love-hate relationship. And so I get so bundled up, and I sit there and stare at it, and I'm like, I don't know what to write. So it's like, this is, when you're talking about that energy, that's what I am clearly communicating, is that lack of, I suppose you could say lack of confidence or lack of clarity coming through on the other end. And I imagine a lot of entrepreneurs go through this. This is...
Yeah, I mean, I'm teaching a course I just started this week called Unbound, and I did a whole challenge. I had like 50 people in the challenge, totally into it, and and then I announced after like a week that I'm doing this class Unbound. It's, an 8-week course based on a lot of these principles about pleasuring yourself. Crickets. Mm-hmm. Nobody signed up for like 2 weeks. And of course, I'm talking to my coach. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a failure.
What did I do?
Nobody wants this. Nobody. What am I thinking? I'm an idiot. So, we all go through that. So then she had the best idea. She goes, well, the people that were in the challenge, why don't you start by emailing them, like, to make a mental list of the people that, number one, that you think would be perfect for this offering, and write them a personal email inviting them, and then do the same for the people that were in the challenge. I emailed 15 people. Only one said no. So all those, so even though I sent it to my list of whatever 560 people and one person from my list signed up, or no, 2 people from my list signed up, and then everybody else from that I personally emailed. And then I forgot I got one other person. So I have a total of 18 people, and I think the other person came through someone that referred it. Mm-hmm. So interesting to see how effective is the newsletter. And really, it's, as a sales tool, I would say it's generally not as effective as a personal reach out email. Mm-hmm. I think what people want in newsletters, they want free content. They want to be entertained. They don't necessarily want to buy stuff from you off of it. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're just so bombarded with information now. Mm-hmm. I pretty much unsubscribed from every email. Anything that comes in, I'm unsubscribing. I have to be very careful about what I have coming in. And same thing with social media. Like, I only follow like a couple groups, and whatever posts come to that on like Facebook. But Facebook in itself, yeah, it's just like overwhelming, all of the information that's out there. Now you could make a career out of just like hanging out on Facebook.
Yeah. Or you could waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
I really love Facebook, and I've had to just make lists of this is what I'm supposed to do for my work, and then get that done. And then I kind of turn on a timer for whatever, 10 or 15 minutes. And once that thing goes off, it's like, I have to get my buns off of there.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's something I wanted to ask you about. In your book, I saw that you have a social media cleanse, or a media cleanse.
So, a sabbatical.
Yeah. What is that? Let's talk about that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that could benefit from that.
Oh my God. Now I have to open the book because I'm like, where? Yeah, I wrote. It's so funny when I was. I've actually had to go back and reread the book because I've been doing presentations on it.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, there's just so much.
I'm already correcting myself. I'm like, oh my God! In the next edition, I have to correct this and change that. It's amazing. Okay, so that's in chapter 1, page 55. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you want me to just read it? Should I just read it?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so stay off of other people's blogs, no matter how good they are. Take time away from social media. Work from your bathtub, the beach, your backyard, your soft, comfy bed. Daydream a lot. So again, getting away from your computer, getting into nature, pleasure, and the bathtub and the beach thing. Being near water will almost always make you more creative and help ideas flow. Mm-hmm. I know we need to promote our offerings, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Okay, so this is about stopping habits of over-consuming other people's ideas. Again, you're filling yourself up with, and it's not always junk. Sometimes it's really great material, mm-hmm. But where are you in that? Where are you allowing yourself to express?
Well, too, for us entrepreneurs, I think it's easy to unintentionally absorb other people's stuff, and then you end up sounding like your voice changes to sound more like them. Instead of, that's what I find for myself is I really have to focus. It's like keep my eyes on my own paper. Because otherwise... Yeah.
And also it can create comparison. Like, oh my God, that person said this so much better than I would have ever said. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's just, mental diarrhea. It's terrible. Mm-hmm, so in the book, I say create a media cleanse and sabbatical that feels awesome to you and schedule it into your calendar. So for me, like I have a regular cleanse every Monday. So Mondays, social media is off limits. And not to say that I don't, sneak on there. But one thing that I figured out is if I don't open my email on Monday morning and wait till after lunch or like 3 p.m. on Monday, it's like, wow, I feel like a new human being. Just that one day, if you just did a sabbatical 1 day a week. Some people will do like a whole month off of social media, which is great. But I still say if you schedule regular sabbaticals or regular time, regular office hours, like, okay, 5 p.m., I'm off the computer. Mm-hmm. How many of us do that?
I'm working my way down. I try to do
it every day, and I'm terrible at it.
I'm at like 8 p.m.
Yeah, and sometimes we have to be, because we have kids or other projects and stuff happens. But the thing is, when the stuff happens every day for years on end, you burn out. Yeah. You're just not in your best, and you can't produce your best, mm-hmm. right?
That's not the Aphrodite way.
No, it's not. And, and Athena can definitely help Aphrodite by saying, guess what, sister? You said you were not going on social media after 5 p.m., so... Mm-hmm. So that's where you could turn on maybe the Athena too as someone to, police that if you want to take a whole bunch of time off too, you can use things like Hootsuite, and just do do like a week or two batches of social media feeds and blog stuff, because you could also do batch your blogs. I've gone through phases where I can do blog batching, where I go into WordPress, do them, and then time them out, a week or so apart. I'd like to do that, experiment again for over the summer and see how that works. And it works for certain periods, but then, other times it's like, oh my God, I'm so inspired with this idea. I have to blog about it now and put it out now and send it out in the newsletter. Just everybody has to know about this now. And that's kind of cool, because that kind of enthusiasm too is contagious. People like it.
Yeah. So I'm curious then, do you have, because if we're staying off of social media and we're wanting to market our material, do you have any tips for how to effectively market on social media without doing the overconsumption thing or getting overwhelmed or?
Yeah. So, I would definitely say the scheduling idea is probably one of the best ways. The only thing with using Hootsuite that I've noticed is it says on there buffer or Hootsuite.
Yeah.
And so when I see that, I'm like, okay, so that person planned to do this, so I respect that. And if it seems like something I'd be interested in, I'll read it. But I do take note of that, and people see that. So what some people do is they hire a VA to do it for them. And I'm going to just mention this because for a long time, I sent a weekly newsletter to, so every week I sent one. And I started finding that over a year, the open rate started going down, the click rate started going down. And then when I switched to twice a month, they went back up again. And then when I went to once a month, there was some time where I was just so busy, I was just doing it once a month, the open rates were much higher. It was almost like, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
Which is what everybody says not to do in social media newsletters. You have to be at the top of mind. And the thing is, people get sick of you. If you don't have something, I don't know, I'd rather have something really nice to say or entertaining or moving rather than just trying to come up with shit, every week.
Yeah. Well, it seems like with the whole, the trend moving more towards relationship and connecting, that makes sense, that it's more about quality versus quantity.
Yeah. And most of the people on my list are other entrepreneurs. And they're busy. So it's like, I started thinking about that. I'm like, these people don't need to hear from me every week. So why am I killing myself to create mediocre content? And some of them said, oh, it's not mediocre, it's great, but whatever. It was mediocre for me.
Well, it wasn't pleasurable either, like you said earlier.
Yeah, it's not pleasurable.
Yeah.
Emailing people every week. I mean, I don't know, you have a radio show, so it's a little different. You have a different topic all the time, but, it's like just me and myself and I, and,
Talking about the goddesses and branding and mermaids and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've got some great ideas that I've been holding on to for stuff, so I'll start rolling it out. But again, there's something about teasing people, teasing them a little bit, it's very seductive to be like, ooh, be on the edge of your seat waiting for 2 weeks to hear what someone's going to say, as opposed to, oh, here's so-and-so again this week. And
yeah. Well, and yeah, if it becomes like they know what to expect, or they think that they know what to expect, then they just either save it for later or they just delete it.
Yeah. That's why I put in my book, I put a whole chapter on the trickster, and the trickster is one of the longest chapters in it, because sometimes you have to wake people up because they're like, oh, it's so-and-so. They kind of scan your email. So, maybe you change your header to you, like, I don't know, doing something, or your subject line is shocking or wakes people up. You've got to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all going to, be in this soup of dullness unless we have pleasure and a little bit of fun, playfulness, some shock value. It all makes for good branding. It's knowing and intuitively knowing when to use it too, and following your intuition. That's a huge one.
Yeah, definitely. And to do that, you have to get back into your body. And I know that you talk about the chakras. So do you want to talk about that?
So in each chapter, there is a chakra that's associated with the archetype that's dominates that chapter. So the first chapter is sovereignty, and that chakra is the crown chakra, right? Because it's a crown. It's our birthright is sovereignty, right? I mean, we have this natural chakra of light there. So what I did in the book is there's an introduction that I really want everybody to read the introduction so they really know how to best use the book, so they understand my approach and why I did things the way I did. And I talk a lot about the imagination, which is super important. So chapters 1 through 7 are the 7 main chakras. And there's a chakra breathing exercise for each one. I've found that working with chakras is like the easiest and fastest way for entrepreneurs or anybody to clear stuff. It's so easy to do, and you can find meditations everywhere. So, and what I loved is, I read a book by Joseph Campbell called the Myths, I think the Myths of Light. It was his book about Eastern mythologies, and he talks about the archetypes being associated with chakras, and I'd never seen that before and never seen someone do that. So a little bit of it is a takeoff on Joseph Campbell, who obviously was a huge inspiration for me since I was really little.
Mm-hmm. There is something that I love that you do in the book is you have some really great examples of some women entrepreneurs that have become very successful. Is there anyone in particular that stands out?
There's so many.
I know. That's why I just figured I'd see if you had a favorite.
Yeah, I have case studies of Danielle Laporte, Michelle Ward, some Alexandra Franzen, some well-known people. Helen Hodgson was my case study for Aphrodite. Marie Forleo, I did a case study, of course. Hallie Gray, the trickster, she's amazing. Amethyst Mahoney is one of them, too. Is there anybody that you found really intriguing?
Well, let's talk about Danielle, because I know a lot of people are very familiar with her.
So, yeah, Danielle Laporte is basically the one who gave me the whole, permission that entrepreneurs can be spiritual. I remember before I found her, someone forwarded me an email because they were on her list, but I had been teaching classes in personal mythology. So a lot of the stuff that's in the introduction of this book is stuff that I used to teach people, just like as more of a personal growth kind of class. Mm-hmm. And, oftentimes we talk about work stuff, but I never thought, spirituality and personal development and mythology could be fused with branding and with business development and all of that. So when I found Danielle Laporte, I was just like, wow. I mean, besides the fact she's a fabulous writer, I mean, she does things so elegantly. She's absolutely, everything she does is so beautiful, and everything she produces. I mean,
she has her voice down for sure.
She is amazing. She is amazing. So I would say when I found her was end of 2011, and I was like, wow, I should help people, work on their businesses by doing the inner work first, this personal mythology piece and the chakra piece, and then have them work on their businesses. So that was kind of the beginning of what I started doing. And then I just started basically making up services based on all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And people were signing up for it. I was like, oh my gosh, I have a business now doing this cool thing. And it was pretty much thanks to Danielle Laporte. I never would have had the idea to do it. But what I love about her is just this, I see her as the high priestess, first of all. If there's an archetype that she would be is the high priestess so that's the one who has that transcendent wisdom and knowledge, by going within and then comes out and teaches it to others. The high priestess. And I also saw her as the phoenix. And the phoenix rises from its own ashes. I mean, she keeps burning down her old branding and then, rebirths. There's a lot of, but my hope was that, like you, when you read it, I hope you saw some of yourself in her story. I mean, that's the whole point, is that that archetypes are universal, that we're all connected, and that we can find each other in those stories. I know it's a case study, but it's really a case story. It's a story about how somebody has done something.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that, because you can kind of go within and feel where you resonate most, like who you resonate with, and then you can use them as a model. I always like to end with a practical tip, so I understand you have an exercise that you wanted to share with us.
I do. I want to share a pleasuring yourself before business exercise.
Yes. You guys, for the listeners, her book has like so many cool exercises and just like what we're talking about, the case studies, the case stories are so cool because, just like what we were talking about, you really can tap into that energy of what you can use them as a role model and kind of use that to expand your own self.
There's a lot in here.
There is so much. And then the chakra exercises and
Yeah, so what I'm doing now is for people that buy the book, there's the link to the book website, so they can sign up there. And I'm working on the meditations. All the meditations are going to be recorded. All of the exercises I'm going to have worksheets for, like fillable PDFs. And then, there'll be bonus material coming out too. Awesome. So I'm trying to build it, which is why I'm not totally going crazy promoting the book right now, because that stuff isn't ready yet. But at least if you sign up now, once it's ready, you'll have it. It'll be like a password protected, portal kind of thing. So if you buy the book, it's on Kindle as well. You'll get it. You'll get it all.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So here we go, the pleasuring yourself exercise. So the first part of this is you make a list of activities to express your sensuality and sexuality that feel, kind of spine-tingly fun, and that also feel safe. So if you're feeling like this is new territory for you, take it easy on yourself. If you feel like, wow, I'm just going to go full on and, I'm bold, adventurous, then great. Wherever you are, just start from there. Mm-hmm. So I also put a list of my own. Warm oil for self-massage is one of my favorite. There's self-pleasuring with sex toys. There's making love outdoors with my man. That's something we did when we first dated, and now it's like you get married. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
where'd that go? Just, and tantra, and there's like different things I wanted to try. Just dancing. Sometimes taking a dance break. I'll put on Spotify and be like, yeah, and dance. I've even tried blogging naked just to see, well, is my writing different if I'm naked versus not having clothes on? And again, anything that's sensual, like a hot bath with aromatherapy and maybe some flower petals. But again, even just sitting out in the sun for 5 minutes, or if it's raining, running in the rain for a few minutes. So just that refreshing, just allowing your stuff to fall on your skin, like beautiful, sensuous, silky materials, all of that. Just eating something that really is delicious without the guilt. Mm-hmm. So the second part of this, so after you make your list, you can also, kind of look at, break them down into, okay, stuff I need more time for versus stuff I only need a couple minutes to do. So you have like the quick list. And part 2 is choose at least one item on your list and engage in it before tackling your work. So we're used to people saying, well, reward yourself after.
Yeah.
And that's great. I mean, we should always reward ourselves. There's celebration is a very important part of the creation process and launching and all of that. But does it always happen? No. So if you do it before, then your work is going to, obviously put out that really amazing pleasure energy to everybody that gets it. And you're just going to be more enthusiastic about, promoting it. It's like, oh my God, I had so much fun creating this, and it was amazing. And these are such cool things, and you've got to have it. You'll love it. When people put stuff out like that, I almost always like, oh my gosh, at least click on it. And, if I have the cash, I'll buy it, just because they're so dang enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. And it's like you get that you get that endorphin release. So you're sharing your endorphins and the adrenaline.
Good. Yeah. Exercise, dancing, all of that can be on your pleasure list. So part 3 is journaling about your experience and record how you felt about rewarding yourself with pleasure first. So I find there's an interesting thing that when you write down and you record, at least maybe the first 5 times that you do it, there's something about that triggers in your mind that you won't have to oh gosh, I have to remember to do my pleasuring first kind of thing. There's something about you create more habits by recording how it went for you. So here are the prompts. The first one is, were you more productive, more creative, happier, more relaxed? The second one is, did it detract from your work in any way? What were your reservations? What were your objections? And the third is, if you found this to be a revelation, how would you include it in your work on a regular basis? Mm-hmm. So just, 2 or 3 little prompts to, do it. So I'd say, the first, 4 or 5 times. I mean, if you want to keep doing it after that, of course, journaling is always good. Yeah. But, it's like getting into that extra little discipline step that seems to kind of cement in the habit a little bit more, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just love that. Permission to have fun, to pleasure ourselves, and to play first before work.
Yep. Pleasure your way to success, baby. That's what I say.
All right. I love it. So tell us about your bonus gift for Academy members.
It's called The Goddess Guide to Business Bliss. So it's 150 pages. Danielle Laporte, Alexandra Franzen, some of the case study people in my book, contributed to it. So there's like the first 50 pages are mine, and it's a lot about branding and how to write, good blog titles and newsletter things. It's very practical. There's meditations with it that are there. There's, I think, some recorded yoga practices that one of the gals contributed. So there's 20 plus contributors. It's amazing.
Fantastic. Very cool. Yeah, gosh, that sounds like it's packed full of amazing content. Tell us how we can get in touch with you. Tell us where to find your book, all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, the book is on Amazon. It's called Return to Enchantment, Your Guide to Creating a Magical Livelihood. You can also, if you want to patronize small business, which I always advocate, the only retailer who's selling it in their store is called Paradise Found. It's in Santa Barbara, California, but I'll put links to her stuff on my website too, but you can definitely find them on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Just call or email them. They'll ship it to you.
Oh, nice.
And they have signed copies of it. So
perfect.
And if you're like, well, I'm not sure if I want to buy it yet, you can go to returntoenchantment.com, and there's also sample chapters there. I think that you can, if you sign up, you can get the sample chapters.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Angela. Yeah. This was really fun.
Thank you. This was so much fun, and I have so many ideas, and I'm just going to go through your book step by step and do all the exercises, and I really want to take my business and my brand to the next level and really put out the good energy. I want to get my personality out there more.
As you should. I mean, You're so sparkly and amazing. You have beautiful energy, fun and lively and intelligent.
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess I'll practice some of that vulnerability out on Facebook. Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing what you create.
Thank you. Thank you. And now I'd love to hear from you guys. The most awesome discussions happen after the show over at theawakenedgoddess.com. So get yourself over there and leave a comment right now. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, subscribe to the show. And of course, it would be absolutely amazing if you shared this with all of your friends. And if you want even more incredible resources, join Spark Spiritual Academy to get this month's Entrepreneur Collection of bonus content. And until next time, goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Awakened Goddess. I hope you enjoyed today's show and took away something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at thegoddessnextdoor.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.